Good evening. We had a little slight change of plans. Mr. Wolfinger's feeling under the weather, so I'm going to run the finance meeting for this evening. Everybody has their agenda. We'll get right into it with temporary resolution 5825 coming through Safety Committee, a resolution to appropriate the unencumbered balance and amend the certificate appropriations with the county auditor and the law enforcement block JAG grant police fund and approve of then announced certificate. Mr. Bizjack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, this legislation is appropriating about $23,000 to close out the 2022 and 2023 JAG grant funds. JAG grant funds. And this is for the purpose of trying to get, well, not trying, but it's for the purpose of getting new body cameras for our police officers and issuing a disbursement to the sheriff's office. Chief, am I missing anything else with this? This will be 3 readings, and Councilmember Tiner will be my second.
Okay. 5925, resolution to appropriate. This is for DOJ Equitable Sharing Fund for grant match dollars for major crimes, also through Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. MCU is requesting $40,000 for a grant match that they're currently pursuing. Currently, the Lancaster Police Department is the fiduciary on the account. Now, I do want to emphasize that this account is a shared asset forfeiture account and no taxpayer dollars go into this account. But due to the fact that LPD is the fiduciary on this account, this legislation and this appropriation needs to go through City Council and go through that legal channel. And Councilmember Solly will be my second. We're going 3 readings.
Chief, anything to add? Any questions? I'll ask. So the matching funds are just coming from LPD?
So theoretically, yes, we're the fiduciary, but the funding in this account comes from DEA seizures, which we are part of a conglomerate of agencies that comprise Major Crimes Unit.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Thank you. Ooh, 3 in a row. 6025, resolution to appropriate in the 45 Police and Fire Fund, levy 2021 for the purchase of 4 police vehicles for the police department. Mr. Bizjack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, the police department is asking again for $179,000 for additional cruisers here from Montrose Ford. There was a previous purchase order that was out, was unexpectedly closed. Now it's been reopened again, but because it's been reopened, we need to go through the appropriations process. This has already been budgeted for and expected. Once again, just going through this formality of making sure the police have the funds to purchase these cruisers. Councilmember Tiner will be my second, and this will be going through 3 readings.
Anything else?
Nothing to add.
You didn't even need to come. Mr. Bizjack's got you down. Any questions? Nope. Okay. All right, moving on. Temporary resolution 6125. That is to schedule our council meetings for 2026. Everybody had a chance to look at that, and
we have 3 readings to look at it. So
yeah,
please encourage everybody to look at it and also plan accordingly with schedules so that we can minimize the number of meetings that, I mean, obviously if somebody has a vacation, we accommodate. But
you're not excused. Ms. Kreitz?
Yes, Mr. Bizjack will be my second.
Okay. Temporary resolution 6225 coming through finance. I guess that's me today.
Yes.
Resolution to increase receipts appropriate from the unencumbered balance amendment certificate, the county public transit fund, and to declare an emergency. So actually going to turn over to the auditor on this piece, please.
Thank you. Yes, this is a closeout of the public transit cash. We had to leave some, if you recall, from last year to pay the unemployment, to leave cash in there to get some of those bills paid that was going from July through December. then we got a BWC rebate, and then we also got a PNC credit card rebate, as well as I believe we're getting since the city has one of the grants that they used, it was in the city's name, the county needs to get those reimbursements, but the state of Ohio only will reimburse the city. So in conjunction with all those rebates plus that incoming grant reimbursement, I'm just needing to appropriate those funds, so once they come in, we can pay back the county, give it to the public transit at the county.
Any questions? Okay. That's me, Mr. Ailes, if you be my second.
Yes.
We'll do 2 readings on that resolution. Do we have any other resolutions? No? Ordinances, we have a few new ones. 27, 28, and 29. Is 30 the same? Hold on.
Let's do 27 separately. It's for the Powers Run
Okay,
four-star
yeah,
TIF.
and then 20,
And then the
20,
other
and 30.
3 can be together. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is the only one that's 2 readings, correct? This is the only one?
Yes.
Wing is going to be my second, but I will have Stephanie, who's already at the podium, discuss it.
I jumped up too fast.
You're fine.
So 2725 is for the 4-star development at Powers Run. That's up 188. This is 333 homes. This is by far the largest housing development we've had in a long time. I wanted to just kind of review what TIFs are. So TIFs stands for tax increment financing, and it is a collection of increased property tax revenue generated by the new developments. And it is used to pay for public improvements in the district. So we create a district, so we, identify all the parcels that are in there, and the money can only be used in that district. So it is for public improvements only, which is typically maintained and owned by the city. The TIFs that we propose are always non-school TIFs, so that we keep the school whole. The name non-school always throws me off, but it's to keep the schools whole. And these proceeds are going to go to supporting public infrastructure at those sites. This site is completely undeveloped, has never been developed. So as Kurt Schonk has said, we don't know what we don't know when we're building 333 houses. So it'll go to good use at that site.
I'm sure people have questions. If not, if we do, but if everyone's fine, we can discuss 28, 29, and 30. And then
Then we
ask
can
all our
answer
questions
questions?
together?
Perfect.
Or would you rather?
No, that's a great idea.
Can I just say one thing real quick? These are 2 different kind of TIFs, and I just want everybody to be very aware of that. 4-star Powers Run is a developer TIF, and then the other 3 TIFs are city TIFs. So they're different kinds of TIFs, just to keep that clear for everybody.
Yeah, thank you. So the next 3 TIFs are specific to, obviously, to different districts. The first one is on the west side. It is the Rock Mill Industrial Park. And this was really spurred by, I think we talked about a foreign company that is coming in with an intention of developing 105 acres and creating 75 jobs. That's a commitment they're making to the state. And we really believe that it's going to be more than 75 jobs. They have to be not overpromise. Jobs Ohio will claw back, and so they always are. Thank you. They ask the users to be very conservative in those commitments. So that would be for manufacturing jobs. Because they're coming and it's on Campground Road, we really need to make improvements to Campground Road. It's essentially township road at this point. Now, the county is already improving their bridge that is on Campground Road. That just happens to be scheduled for this summer, which is great timing. And then we need to make improvements on the rest of the road. So it will go as far north as Collins and all the way down to Fair Avenue. Although further south on Fair, when you get to Smurfit West Rock, that has already seen a lot of improvements. So that may have minimal improvements. Our estimates have been provided by EMH&T, and then the city has reviewed them and was able to kind of tighten them up. So we're somewhere in the 5 to 7 million in proceeds or in improvements. So we're responsible for that, and we looked at the TIF proceeds, and just TIFing the 105 acres is not going to get us anywhere near that amount. And we've decided to TIF the whole park. We still have undeveloped land. We still have opportunities where there's going to be public improvement needs in the park. And we're going to capitalize on some improvements, some developments that are taking place in the park, so we can utilize that for public improvements. The second one is out on the east side, where we have the East Side Industrial Park. And that will include the LDG apartment complex that is currently under construction. We don't have any identified public improvements that we need to make right now. However, our long-term goal is the East Side Industrial Connector. And I do think, if I had to choose one thing that we may see out there in terms of public improvement, there may be some smaller projects that will help us align the roads to be ready for the East Side Industrial Connector. So expanding, we were really considering our options of what could we do to that corner at Commerce and Quarry, thank you. What could we do to kind of get it ready for the East Side Industrial Connector? Then the third one is what we're calling a central TIF district. That's going to include the Woda Cooper development on Cells. That's going to include Hunter's Trace on 22. That's going to include the Metro properties that are under construction along Columbus and Election House Road, and then also the Gateway site. And certainly for the Gateway site, we will see those TIF proceeds help us build the garage that would be on the development on the Gateway site with the hotel and the apartments. So those are our intentions with those TIFs, and we do see those sites. We see the potential for a lot of growth at those places.
Questions? None. Mr. Stoughton.
So in 20, I just want to make sure I understand this. So 27, for example, what is this is to build infrastructure, correct? Mm-hmm. And who builds the infrastructure? The developer or the city?
The developer.
Okay.
So as I was saying, 27 is a developer TIF, and so the developer builds all of the infrastructure, and then whatever money comes in goes back to the developer.
Which is like our
to fund.
the one on it's like the Edie Road TIF to some degree.
No, it's not like the Edie Road TIF. The Edie Road TIF, the city paid for the development and then was reimbursed from and is still being reimbursed from the TIF funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on then to 28, 29, and 30 then. Who pays for those improvements?
The city will pay for those improvements, but after we have started generating that revenue. So we'll have that money come in to the account, and then we'll have some idea of, what the future revenue is going to be and how that can be expended.
Well, do you have an amortization schedule that basically says, she mentioned something $5 to $7 million on one of these.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're building out infrastructure in the tune of $5 to $7 million,
That's not going to cover that. We know it's not going to cover that.
okay, so it's something more than that.
Yes, building the roadway will be $5 to $7 million, and we're not going to collect $5 to $7 million in this TIF to immediately pay for that roadway.
So-
There are other sources of revenue that will come to the city to pay for that. That's the goal, anyway.
Yep.
Okay. So my question is, what is the what is the city on the hook to provide as far as building that infrastructure? All of it?
So we can build whatever we want to build. This is city money, and the city gets to make that decision.
I understand that.
It-
So in 28, for example, I mean, when will we start building and what will we start building? And my question would be, I mean, when will we start building infrastructure for that TIF?
It could take two to 3 more years before we can build the road, with just the engineering process, design, finalizing exactly how much it's going to cost.
Okay,
And
good. Let me stop. Who pays for the engineering and all that?
It could be done internally, depending on the capacity, and it could be paid for by the Port Authority.
If she gets grants from the state of Ohio to pay for it, then obviously they would pay for it.
Well, I understand that.
This is all speculative.
Well, I understand that, but we're also talking about millions and millions of dollars of infrastructure, and then the payback isn't going to come back very quickly.
No, we know that.
Well,
The point
I
is.
just want to make sure they know that.
Okay, well, the
Okay.
point is, for all of you who didn't ask that question, that money is going to accumulate somewhere. And if we don't capture it with a TIF, then you don't get any of it to pay for any of that infrastructure. So the goal is whatever the TIF actually throws off in revenue, we get to use that money. That's all there is to it.
But if they don't do the development, we don't have to pay any money at all.
If they don't do
If we don't do any development, that we have to, we pay no money. I don't want to,
we are not doing the development necessarily. Stephanie's goal is to have these funds go to roadway improvements for development that we are hoping will come. If the development doesn't come, she's not going to put the money into the road necessarily, unless she has some other user who is willing to come in and use that roadway. Maybe she's got another need someplace else immediately. The goal is to start generating the revenue, though, so we have the ability to look at what that's going to get us and to plan to use those funds.
I understand that.
I have a question. We are not necessarily on the hook to do these projects.
No, there's nothing.
It's just collecting.
Correct. There is
So
nothing tying us to doing
we are
any
not
of these things.
Obligated.
Do
Correct.
we
To
have
do
a
them.
breakdown of like
No.
cost and revenue, like by site, and maybe some examples of, I looked through this earlier, and I'm not sure, because there's, we have multiple ones, and I'm okay with these kinds of TIFs and all that. It's not, but I would like to see, because I could see where we could get stuck doing bonds and stuff to have to pay for some of this,
So-
and that's what makes me a little.
Let me
nervous.
rein this back in real quick. Sorry. So, raising hands and we'll figure that out. So, and I want to make sure that I'm clear what you're asking. So, and what they're saying. So the TIF, putting those in place now starts generating the revenue, a savings account, if you will. And then if any of these projects come to fruition, we have a source to go and pull funds from to help pay for those infrastructure improvements. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
So how does money start getting put in here without any city?
Tricia?
Mine is, help me understand, because in mine, for the knowledge I have for TIFs, the revenue that comes in through the TIF is the difference between the value of the land that's undeveloped versus the developed. If we're not having anybody develop, there is no money coming in because there is no difference in that value.
Right.
So we will not be generating revenue to pay for infrastructure.
That's why we're going to TIF the whole
Everything.
park.
Because there are portions, sorry.
No, you go.
There are portions we know are going to develop. She knows that they are going to develop based on the plans that they have right now. So we know there are going to be developments. We know they are going to build. And so we want to capture that because, typically a developer comes to us and says, hey, can we do a TIF? And they get the balance. They get that money, right? But this is the opposite. They're not asking for that money. And so we are going to collect it and we are going to use it for public infrastructure
Do
improvements.
you know how many developers are planning to develop?
There are 4 prospective projects where we'll see development and increased value within this park. Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't, because that's how the revenue is generated, is
Right.
that it's the difference between the undeveloped value and the developed value. You get that, that's what the revenue that's coming in, but we don't have any idea any numbers of what that revenue, because by the sounds of it, unless we're getting grants and doing other things to help pay for road improvements, and I'm assuming not using 3 mil levy money,
Right, no.
it's just more of looking at, as for council, as what revenue is going to be generated to help pay for this.
That's right.
Because is it going to be something that we're needing to pay cash, we're going to have to wait till that revenue sits before we
That's right.
can pay for it, and that could be 10 years, 15 years out. I don't know how much revenue it's going to generate.
Sure.
Mr.
We
Mayor.
don't either.
So.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman. If you let me finish, I won't say anything else, I promise. Okay? So
I cut you
so
off, I'm sorry.
well, no, it's okay. So ultimately, when we're in an up economy, I don't really I'm not concerned much because people are going to spend money. My question would be, or my thought would be, or my concern would be to understand the fact that we're amidst this development and now I guess we've agreed to, they're going to pay us so much to put in this much infrastructure. Each time we put in this infrastructure, are we made whole immediately or are we made whole over time?
If we don't have enough in the TIF bucket at the time that we need to spend, most likely the port will backstop the debt that we would have.
Is that what your legislation says the TIF is going to do? The Port Authority is going to pay in lieu? I'm only asking because, like I said, up economies are good, right? It's when we get in a bad economy and a builder stops building. And we've
Sure.
already built the infrastructure.
Sure.
That's not the infrastructure we're building.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're not building that infrastructure.
Yep.
The developer will build that infrastructure. We're looking at roads and highways,
Yeah.
sidewalks. We're looking at public infrastructure. It's a city TIF. The infrastructure we're gonna be building is for the city. It's not going to be for the developer. They're gonna do their water, sewer lines, everything on the property. We're not doing that. That's not what this TIF is proposing. This is
Mr. Mayor.
proposing to capture the incremental increases, the incremental increases in real estate tax that currently will go to essentially we won't be able to capture them unless we have a TIF. We will build that money up and be able to improve Campground Road, for instance, as an example, that we currently can't improve because we don't have the funding. It would also allow us to use this money for any project that the council would approve, because there would have to be legislation for project and spending money. We're not, this is a city TIF.
I understand.
We are not developing property.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chair is running this meeting. He will recognize people as they come up. We can't have the back and forth due to the recording. Thank you.
The critical difference is there is no project plan to spend this money on currently, other than the idea of Campground Road improvements. The city and council will decide what project to spend this money on. It'll be set aside in an account created by the auditor's office specifically for its purpose, which is public improvements, that will be decided upon when these projects come up. They could be, we're currently not planning on building development using TIF money. We're currently trying to capture that TIF money to use for development that we feel as a city and a city government is needed and necessary. Campground Road is an example of that project, where that road is not going to see any growth unless it's improved. It is a township road. The portion that has been improved currently exists with those improvements because they were needed for development. Now we have industrial property sitting aside that is unlikely to be developed and benefit the community without improvements. This is a way of doing that. So that's the proposal. When we think about a TIF, I think we all think about a traditional TIF. Someone's building timber top, they want to build the roadway up to River Valley Highlands, specifically designated for that purpose. Developer TIF, they build the roadway, they get reimbursed over time. This is a different animal, and hopefully some of that explains the differences.
All right. Well, I think in reality, when we hear TIF, everybody's like, what is that? And if you have to know what it is, it makes you want to vomit. So, because it's too complicated, or it can be complicated.
It is complicated.
But there's a little bit of obvious, does council have questions? So, yes, go ahead.
Stephanie, would you confirm my understanding that regardless of whether
There are things that are considered improvements for those parcels that would improve the project or the parcels around them. But the main goal is to improve those parcels that are included. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
All right.
Are
Mr.
they
Hales.
always for 30 years?
Yes.
So there's no debate, you can't reduce the number of years, it has to be 30 years?
I honestly don't know if you can reduce. The max is 30, and we've always done 30 because that allows you to capture the most value.
Can we find out?
Over time.
I mean,
Yeah,
is it-
I can find out.
Okay.
I don't know why we would want to capture less value, though, less money. That seems,
Well, I think I'd want to get paid back faster and make sure we get paid back.
but we're not
And I know I'm
getting,
mixing TIFs again.
yeah, we're not we're not
I
paying
understand
anything
that.
back. We're just getting money in. This is free money, basically, for us.
Mr. Luchtenberg.
If we get to a situation where we're not bringing in very much money, has there been any thought to maybe issuing a bond, some bonds to help increase the revenue
Well,
within the TIF?
if we don't have the money to make the improvements, then we would have to find another way to find the money to make the improvements. But the goal is that the TIF will collect enough so that we don't have to do bonds. If we had a scenario where we absolutely had to make, large public infrastructure improvements and we didn't have the money, sure, the port could do bonds, but we don't anticipate that happen. We're trying to avoid that essentially by collecting the proceeds.
Well, to piggyback on her question, on Christina's question, one of those TIF areas, I think it was the central TIF, has a lot of different properties scattered around. Are all of the revenue from all those properties going to be put into one pot?
No.
Or it's individual pots per property?
That's one pot. That's why.
Even for the central?
Central is one pot?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so it would be at our discretion how that money is used then. It could go all to one development on one property,
Sure.
potentially. Okay.
Yeah.
So wouldn't a potential developer, but I could see an issue with that if you have all these different parcels together. If they're spread out, if somebody's looking to develop, they're going to say, well, hey, all this money's not going to go here. It could go down the road somewhere. How's this going to help me
So
with my infrastructure that I need?
do you want us to answer that, or do you want us to wait to be recognized? Sorry.
Yeah. Like I said, the TIFs can give you a headache, but we're like way, if we could back up a little bit. So every one of these we're trying to collect some funds for future development. There's nothing saying we have to do anything except collect some money.
Right.
And then if a project comes about and we're like, hey, that's $10 million of public infrastructure and $10 million hasn't been collected, then we would have to sit here and discuss how would we potentially fund that, because we don't have enough money in these,
Is it unusual to put all these parcels together?
right?
But
No.
may I interject, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I think you're confusing the concept of the first TIF versus the other three.
Right.
The other three are community TIFs, and we are saying that we are moving forward with this development tool to allow us to build sidewalks or other infrastructure that we may wish. And it's not necessarily related to a specific developer or a specific project. However, there would have to be a differentiation in the value of the property in order to collect extra funds. Is that correct, Auditor? Yes. Okay. So we wouldn't be necessarily reliant or worried about whether or not a developer would build on this particular piece of property versus this one. I think what they're trying to do is collect areas of the city in the last one, the central community one, where they know that development might take place in the future because we're already seeing people think about that. What were the parcels that were in that one, Stephanie?
Hold on, gotta scroll, sorry. I was on the first one.
I mean, I do understand that, I'm just, is it odd to lump these together like that? Have we ever
No,
done that before?
that's how they're always done. You have to put them all together. You couldn't have an individual TIF for each parcel. That
Or
would be,
like, I mean, if they were real close together, I could see lumping them together, but aren't some of these spread out across town from each other?
well, that's why we did a west side, a central, and an east side, right? Because there's a central portion of Lancaster, and then those two industrial parks. And the east and the west were made to capture everything over by the industrial parks, essentially.
Okay,
Because-
maybe I misunderstood. I think it was said earlier, it sounded like there was a couple that were kind of spread out, so.
Yeah, they're
I'm
not
okay with that.
necessarily close to each other inside of the city limits, but they are in the central portion of the city as opposed to being on the east side or the west side in the industrial parks. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other council member have any questions before I move back to the auditor? Auditor Nettles.
And correct me, guys, if I'm wrong, on for clarification, the Powers Run is totally different because you're dealing with single-family homes. It's not the other three that is almost industrial in that like for that. That one will be on a case-by-case, correct, is it supposed to be 300 homes?
333.
333 homes, which will almost be like 333 separate little TIFs based upon each little value of the house and the difference. Is that correct? That was my understanding.
No,
So-
that's why there are 5 TIF incentive districts in
Districts.
Powers Run. If you look at the Powers Run TIF, it's different in that
Need
they're,
to get how they're going to, that TIF is going to be the difference between, it's not going to be the same thing as building a manufacturing building to get the same, like, there's a parcel that has a different, here's the value of that parcel versus here, because that's kind of how the TIFs run, the land value versus, and that different spread. Each house is going to have a different
that's correct, yes.
value, and each one's going to be ticked off differently, right?
Ticked off.
Well,
That increase in the increment is. Yep.
Everybody else good for now? Yeah? Back to you, Ms. Sue.
Did you say back to me?
So we're doing,
So these 3 are going to be 3 readings. And so, do you want my seconds?
nope, you're good. All right.
Okay.
So obviously, we have a few more weeks to come up with any additional questions for everyone on those. So I thought I was going to have a record meeting. I was like, and then I messed that one up. So I didn't knock on wood or anything, and here we are. So we are up to departmental updates. Any departmental updates? Chief, you don't want to come talk because he stole your thunder? Okay. Yes, Ms. Hall.
Sorry, just wanted to give you all an update. So the police chief and I worked together to get the ownership information for the alcohol permittee that we spoke about at your last council meeting. There was one issue locally that the chief was able to suss out a little bit, but based on that, we really don't have the standing to object. And so the clerk sent out the letter on your behalf today, and the mayor's behalf, not objecting to the issuance of that permit. So just want everybody to know.
See no department updates, tonight's meeting prep.
We have none this evening.
Any other items for finance? We'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Solly, second. Second. And we are adjourned. It is 6:36.
We'll convene tonight's regular city council meeting promptly at 6:45.
Hi, this is Tracy Kelly, Executive Director of the Fairfield Medical Center Foundation. We are delighted that Buckeye Toyota and Buckeye Honda have once again reached out to offer their support through the Buckeye Cares program. This month, Buckeye Cares will make a generous donation to Fairfield Medical Center with every car they sell. Please consider the Buckeye family of dealerships for all of your automotive needs. Thank you, Buckeye, for all of your continued generous support.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Rise if able and join me in a moment of prayer. God grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and finally, the wisdom to know the difference. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now call the June 23rd, 2025 regular meeting of City Council to order. We'll now have the reading and disposing of the journal.
Regular meeting minutes dated June 9th, 2025.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the journal.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And we'll hop back. I apologize, we didn't do roll call. Would you please do the roll call?
Mr. Ailes.
Here.
Mr. Bizjack.
Here.
Mrs. Kreitz.
Here.
Mrs. Hoop.
Here.
Mr. Luchtenberg.
Here.
Mr. Schoonover.
Here.
Mr. Sully.
Here.
Mrs. Teeter.
Here.
Mr. Wing.
Here.
And Mr. Wolfinger went home sick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Wolfinger.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Excuse Councilmember Wolfinger. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We'll now move to the reports of city officials.
I have 5 of them. Email dated June 10th, 2025 regarding April and May 2025 income tax revenue reports submitted by Tax Commissioner Amy Hamilton. Email dated June 12th, 2025 regarding mayoral appointments to the NCA submitted by Law Director Stephanie Hall. Email dated June 17th, 2025 Lancaster Fire Department Strategic Plan 2025 through 2030, submitted by Fire Chief Slade Schultz. Emailed it in TIF ordinances 2825, 2925, and 3025, submitted by Law Director Hall.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the reports of city officials.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the reports of city officials. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We'll now move on to communications.
I have 1 email dated June 13th, 2025 regarding a concerned citizen on the state of the country, submitted by Jessica Beyer.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the communication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the communication. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. No special awards or special presentations or awards this evening. Petitions and memorials.
There are no petitions or memorials this evening.
Thank you. We've now reached the point in our agenda for permission. Identify yourself for the record, and you would have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Council President, Council members, Mayor, and other city officials. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Brian Everett. I live at 201 South High Street. I'll stop signing in, or else I will write what I am saying. I just wanted to say briefly that as a citizen of the community, I care about certain things in our community, and there are certain things in our community that don't bother me, nor do I care about. I don't care about drag shows, nor do I care about church services that are held in the public square. I don't care about the exercise of rights granted under our Constitution for the exercise of free speech, and I don't think that's a purview of City Council. I appreciate the robust conversation about TIFs because I think the role of City Council is to get to the business of running a city. I care about pedestrian and cyclist safety. I care about our infrastructure, improving and maintaining our infrastructure, and I care about making this community a place where people are safe, comfortable, and excited to live, work, and play. So I appreciate you as you all work towards that common goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to address council this evening? Seeing none, we thank you for attending. Now move to the reports of standing committees.
I have 6. I have Finance Committee meeting minutes dated June 9th, 2025, submitted by Mr. Wolfinger. Water Pollution Committee agenda dated June 11th, 2025, submitted by Mr. Wing. Service Committee meeting agenda dated June 12th, 2025, submitted by Mr. Ailes. Water Pollution Committee minutes dated June 13th, 2025, submitted by Mr. Wing. Finance Committee agenda dated June 19th, 2025, submitted by Mr. Wolfinger. Law Committee minutes dated June 22nd, submitted by Mrs. Kreitz.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the reports of standing committees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the reports of standing committees. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Reports of special committees.
There are no reports.
There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. We will now move on to the reading of resolutions, beginning with the third reading of resolutions. Temporary Resolution 4925.
A resolution to increase receipts, appropriate from the unencumbered balance, amend the certificate of other sources and appropriations with the county auditor and the general fund 1001 for the one-time strategic community investment grant program and to declare an emergency. This is through the Finance Committee, Mr. Schoonover and Mr. Solly.
Councilmember Schoonover.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 4925.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 4925. Discussion, Councilmember Schoonover.
I don't have any.
Thank you. Any further? Hearing none, please roll.
Mr. Ailes?
Yes.
Mr. Bizjak?
Yes.
Mrs. Kreitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoop?
Yes.
Mr. Leuchtenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
And Mr. Wing?
Yes.
Motion to pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 925 passes 9-0. Temporary resolution 5025.
A resolution to authorize the Service Safety Director to dispense with competitive bidding for a sole source provider contract for membrane replacement for the South Water Plant. This is through Water Pollution Committee, Mr. Wing and Ms. Teener.
Councilmember Wing.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution numbered 50-25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 5025. Discussion, Councilmember Wing.
Yes, this legislation names a sole source for 800 membranes that will be replaced for the South Water Treatment Plant.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Ailes?
Yes.
Mr. Bizjak?
Yes.
Mrs. Kreitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoop?
Yes.
Mr. Leuchtenberg? Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Sully?
Yes.
006 for the payment of the from compensatory time. This is through Water Pollution Committee, Mr. Wing and Ms. Teener.
Councilmember Wing.
Mr. President, I move that council suspend its rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution number 56-25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 5625. Any discussion on the motion to suspend, Councilmember Wing?
Just to be in compliance with the auditor's schedule.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll. And please call the roll.
Mr. Ailes?
Yes.
Mr. Bizjak?
Yes.
Mrs. Kreitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoop?
Yes.
Mr. Leuchtenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Ms. Teener?
Yes.
And Mr. Wing?
Yes.
Motion to suspend the rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 5625 passes 9-0. Councilmember Wing.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that council pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution number 56-25.
Second.
A motion and a second to pass, engross, and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 5625. Any discussion, Councilmember Wing?
Yes, again, this just increases that line item by $2,500 to account for a higher than expected payout for retirement.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Ailes?
Yes.
Mr. Bizjak?
Yes.
Mrs. Kreitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoop?
Yes.
Mr. Leuchtenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Sully?
Yes.
Ms. Teener?
Yes.
And Mr. Wing?
Yes.
Motion pass, engross, and enter upon the written record. Temporary resolution 5625 passes 9-0. Temporary resolution 5725.
A resolution to authorize the Service Safety Director to dispense with competitive bidding and enter into an agreement to purchase a TYMCO Model 600 street sweeper from the State Cooperative Purchasing Program for use by the Stormwater and Transportation Departments. This is through Water Pollution Committee, Mr. Wing and Mr. Ailes.
Councilmember Wing.
Mr. President, I move that council suspend its rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 57-25.
Second.
A motion and a second to pass, or to suspend the rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 5725. Any discussion on the motion to suspend?
Yes, just there's a 9-month lead time on getting this product delivered, and this is so we can get it in a timely manner next spring.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion to suspend? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Ailes?
Yes.
Mr. Bizjack?
Yes.
Suspend the rules and waive the third reading of temporary resolution 5725. Passes 9-0. Councilmember Wing.
Mr. President, I move that council pass and gross and enter upon the written record temporary resolution number 57-25.
Second.
A motion and a second to pass and gross and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 5725. Any further discussion, Councilmember?
This, I was just going to add, this is a budgeted purchase to replace a street sweeper that has ended its useful life.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Ailes?
Yes.
Mr. Bizjack?
Yes.
Mrs. Kreitz?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Bizjack?
Yes.
Mrs. Kreitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoop?
Yes.
Mr. Luxembourg?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Ms. Teener?
Yes.
And Mr. Wing?
Yes.
Motion to pass and gross and enter upon the written record temporary resolution 5725 passes 9-0. We'll now move on to the first reading of resolutions, beginning with temporary resolution 5825.
A resolution to appropriate from the unencumbered balance and amend the certificate of appropriations with the county auditor in the Law Enforcement Block JAG Grant Police Fund 2027 and approve a then and now certificate for purchases. This is through Safety Committee, Mr. Bizjack and Ms. Teener.
Councilmember Bizjack.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary resolution 5825. Temporary resolution 5925.
A resolution to appropriate from the unencumbered balance and amend the certificate of appropriations with the county auditor in the DOJ Equitable Sharing Fund 204A for grant match dollars for the Major Crimes Unit. This is through Safety Committee, Mr. Bizjack and Mr. Sully.
Councilmember Bizjack.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary resolution 5925. Temporary resolution 6025.
A resolution to appropriate from the unencumbered balance and amend the certificate of appropriations with the county auditor in the .45 Police and Fire Levy Fund, or Levy 2021 Fund and Fund 2051 for the purchase of 4 police vehicles for use by the Lancaster Police Department. This again is through Safety Committee, Mr. Bizjack and Ms. Teener.
Councilmember Bizjack.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary resolution 6025. Temporary resolution 6125.
A resolution to schedule Lancaster City Council meetings and Finance Committee meetings for 2026. This is through Law Committee, Mrs. Kreitz and Mr. Bizjack.
Councilmember Kreitz.
Yes, thank you. First of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary resolution 6125. Temporary resolution 6225.
A resolution to increase receipts, appropriate from the unencumbered balance, and amend the certificate of appropriations with the county auditor in the Public Transit Fund 2021 and to declare an emergency. This is through Finance Committee, Mr. Schoonover and Mr. Ailes.
Councilmember Schoonover.
That's the first of 2 readings, please.
First of 2 readings on temporary resolution 6025. We've reached the final readings of resolutions, and we will now move to ordinances, beginning with the 3rd reading of temporary ordinance 2625.
An ordinance to accept the petition for the annexation of 0.605 plus or minus acres in the Pleasant Township to consent to annexation and to declare an emergency. This is through Economic Development Committee, Mrs. Hoop and Mrs. Kreitz.
Councilmember Hoop.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that council pass and gross and enter upon the written record temporary ordinance 26-25.
Second.
Any discussion, Councilmember Hoop?
Yes, this property being annexed was just sold to the developer, and we're just getting rid of the island that it creates.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Ailes.
Yes.
Mr. Bizjack.
Yes.
Mrs. Kreitz.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoop.
Yes.
Mr. Lochtenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Schoonover?
Yes.
Mr. Solly?
Yes.
Ms. Teener?
Yes.
Mr. Wing?
Yes.
Motion to pass, gross and enter upon the written record. Temporary ordinance 2625 passes 9-0. There are no second readings of ordinances this evening, so we will move to the first reading of temporary ordinance 2725.
All I have to say is thank you, Stephanie. It's a lot to read tonight. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I wasn't paying attention, but you're very welcome.
Right. An ordinance creating 5 incentive districts and declaring improvements to certain real property within the incentive districts to be a public purpose and exempt from real property taxation, identifying certain public infrastructure improvements that, once made, will benefit or serve the parcels in the incentive districts, requiring the owners of those parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, establishing an incentive district public improvement tax increments equivalent fund for the deposit of such service payments, authorizing payments to the Lancaster City School District, and approving related matters. This is through Economic Development Committee, Mrs. Hoop and Mr. Wing.
Councilmember Hoop.
Yes, this is first of 2 readings.
First of 2?
2, yeah.
Okay, first of 2 readings on temporary ordinance 2725. Temporary ordinance 2825.
An ordinance declaring the improvement to certain real property located in the city of Lancaster, Ohio, to be a public purpose, declaring such improvement to be exempt from real property taxation pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code Section 5709.40B, requiring the owners thereof to make annual service payments in lieu of taxes, describing the public infrastructure improvements to be made that will directly benefit the real property, establishing a public improvement tax incentive equivalent fund for the deposit of service payments together with related authorizations. Economic Development Committee, Mrs. Hoop and Mrs. Kreitz.
Councilmember Hoop.
Yes, this is first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary ordinance 2825. Temporary ordinance 2925.
An ordinance declaring the improvement to certain real property located in the city of Lancaster to be a public purpose, declaring such improvement to be exempt from real property taxation pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5709.40B, requiring the owners thereof to make annual service payments in lieu of taxes, describing the public infrastructure improvements to be made that will directly benefit the real property, establishing a public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of service payments together with related authorizations. This, again, is through Economic Development Committee, Mrs. Hoop and Mr. Schoonover.
And declaring an emergency. Councilmember Hoop.
This is first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary ordinance 2925. Temporary ordinance 3025.
An ordinance declaring the improvement to certain real property located in the city of Lancaster, Ohio, to be a public purpose, declaring such improvement to be exempt from real property taxation pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5709.40B, requiring the owners thereof to make annual service payments in lieu of taxes, describing the public infrastructure improvements to be made that will directly benefit the real property, establishing a public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of service payments together with related authorizations. Economic Development Committee, Mrs. Hoop and Mrs. Kreitz. She removed. Yeah, they removed and declared an emergency.
Oh, it's still on mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Councilmember Hoop.
Okay, that's first of 3 readings.
First of 3 readings on temporary ordinance 3025. We have reached the end of our ordinances this evening. We have no tabled legislation. Unfinished business? Hearing none. New business?
I do have new business.
Thank you.
Councilman Wolfinger had provided me with a letter that he wanted me to read tonight during council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. He was proudly elected into a position at OU, and because of that, he can no longer hold an elected office anywhere else. So he asked me to read a letter to you guys. On Friday, June 13th, 2025, I had the honor of being appointed the Ohio University Board of Trustees, which is the governing board of Ohio University. As you are aware, my commitment in the numerous OU boards continues to be a very important part of my life. Needless to say, this opportunity provides me with great pride and gratitude, and I accepted it immediately. When I received a copy of the resolution of my appointment, I realized that elected officials are ineligible to hold this position. In speaking with Ohio University Legal Counsel, it was made clear that I would need to resign from public office in order to serve on the Ohio University Board of Trustees. After a lot of thought and consideration, I've decided to resign 30th of 2025. I've enjoyed my tenure of serving the citizens of Lancaster, fellow council members, and certainly the city administration. With kindest regards, Bob Wolfinger, and then he also provided the appointment sheet for the regional trustee resolution.
Thank you. We will move to the announcement of scheduled meetings.
I have June 23rd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers. These are the next regular sessions of council. July 14th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. and again here in council chambers.
Move to regularly scheduled committee meetings.
I have none.
We don't have any regularly scheduled committee meetings. I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I go back? I'm sorry. I was looking up at the special meetings. Okay. I have Public Works Committee meeting July 11th at 7:30 a.m. in City Hall, 1897 Conference Room. I have a Service Committee meeting June 13th at 8 a.m. City Hall, 1897 Conference Room. I have Water Pollution Control Service Committee meeting June 13th at 9 a.m. at City Hall, 1897 Conference Room.
Thank you. Reading of bills.
I have one for MNCO for $67.92.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion to pay the bill.
Thank you.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to pay the bill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Executive session, there is no need. At this time, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Would love to make that motion, we adjourn.
I'd love to second that.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Please remember to sign your legislation. The next regular meeting of City Council will be July 14th.
Hi, this is Tracy Kelly, Executive Director of the Fairfield Medical Center Foundation. We are delighted that Buckeye Toyota and Buckeye Honda have once again reached out to offer their support through the Buckeye Cares program. This month, Buckeye Cares will make a generous donation to Fairfield Medical Center with every car they sell. Please consider the Buckeye family of dealerships for all of your automotive needs. Thank you, Buckeye, for all of your continued generous support.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.